The story is breaking down. We're seeing dissension in the ranks. The whole Trump assassination might be about to blow wide open. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Chris Martenson, and we've got really, this is just when my eyebrows shot right up my head when I came across this. Let's talk about this today. The attempt on Trump's life. Listen, the story is breaking down, and we have to further debunk ABC's absolutely atrocious disinformation campaign that they ran. Remember, folks, the truth, well, a lie can make it halfway around the world, but the truth, before the truth really has time to put his boots on, Mark Twain. It's absolutely the case. So we got to combat the lies in real time, because if we don't, then they take life and people believe them. Then you have to undo them, and it's very hard. Much easier to combat them right when they happen. But first, this is explosive. The story is actually breaking down. So this is in CNN. Just came out last night because I'm recording this on the 25th. Is that correct? Yes. So it says here, this is by Holmes Librand and Hannah Rabinowitz at CNN. Just came to us July 24th. At 7:31, it was updated. A local law enforcement office commissioner, quoting here, revealed during a House Homeland Security hearing on Tuesday stunning new details, and they are, about the security failures that led to the near assassination of Donald Trump, raising more questions for the embattled U.S. Secret Service. It's raising some other questions for us, too. Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Christopher Paris. So Paris, we're going to use that name over and over again here. So this is the state police. Remember, 3 bodies we got to worry about, maybe 4 out there that day. You have the Secret Service itself. Well, actually 5. Then you had Homeland Security HSI agents, whatever they were doing there. We know that there was the gray man from the ATF. They were there. But the 3 locals we have to worry about then would have been the state police from Pennsylvania, the Beaver County Emergency Services Unit, 2. And then they also mentioned municipal or local cops. So we got 3 branches of local law enforcement, and then we've got 2 or 3 branches of federal government. So now we got 6 agents. Yeah, okay, the finger pointing has begun, and this is when stories begin to break down. And when stories break down like this, it's because people know the risk they're under. Somebody is saying this smells bad, and they're starting to separate from each other. And this is when the action can finally happen. So, carrying on, Pennsylvania State Police Commissioner Christopher Paris' striking testimony comes just one day after now resigned Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle testified before the House Oversight Committee and lamely, not largely, declined to answer questions about the shooting. Yeah, it was bad. Okay, but that's not what this is about. This raises huge question. Quote, Paris, there's that name again from the state police in Pennsylvania, testified that 2 local law enforcement officers left a building with vantage points overlooking the roof where crooks took aim at the former president before he fired shots. But the local district attorney later said the building was never unmanned. This is a huge departure. So again, state police are saying they left their posts. And now you have the locals. So the DA here in this case, they're going to be the district attorney for the county that they're operating in. And so their allegiance is going to be to their guys, right? Which is going to include the municipal cops and the emergency services unit guys. So the state police pointing the finger at the emergency services guy said, you guys are supposed to have that and you abandoned your post. Now that's a big charge. Paris said that 2 officers with the Butler County Emergency Services Unit. Sorry, why do I keep saying Beaver County? I got that all wrong. Strike that everywhere I said that. Butler County. Why did I think? Anyway, Butler County Emergency Services Unit, a tactical force with sniper capabilities, left their posts in the building to look for a suspicious individual they spotted first and alerted to other law enforcement. That person was crooks. Okay, Paris said, okay, they had 2 guys up there with the ESU. It's a tactical force. They had sniper capabilities. We're not clear if they had snipers, or they just had the capabilities. But anyway, they had 2 guys up there, says Paris. And they left their post to go look for this guy. Now, this is where the story gets weird, because remember, they snapped pics of this guy. One of these ESU guys, whose name is Greg, we're pretty sure about that now, was in the far right of that 2-story building and was taking pictures out of the far right window at Crooks, who's down on that retaining wall, right? In one case, in one picture, he's looking up over his left shoulder, pictures from above. In the other, picture from above, but he's looking at his phone, he's got his finger on it, right? So he's one of these pictures, right? So those 2 photos, and I don't know if they were taken 1 then 2, but Crooks is in enough of a different position that maybe that accounts for why we had one of those pictures taken at 5:14 and the other was described as being taken at 5:30. At any rate, we're supposed to believe that these two guys, somewhere around 5:30, said, this is suspicious. Let's both leave this post and go look for this guy. So that's what the state police are claiming. However, in pink, Wednesday, Butler County DA Richard Goldinger disputed the testimony. Here's where it gets good. Saying that only one of the ESU officers left the building briefly to search for crooks. So if they left, did they leave at 5:30? Did they leave at 5:45? We need to know because, of course, at 6:09, people are saying, hey, dude on the roof with a gun. And at 6:11, 33, 2.5 interminable minutes later, we actually saw the shots get taken. All right, so that's interesting. So Butler County DA is like, only one of the officers left. The other one stayed up there. Quote, both ESU officers moved within the building, attempting to keep an eye on crooks. So he's enough of a concern that they're like, oh, shoot, where's that guy going, right? Goldinger said in a statement, one of the officers observed crooks sitting on a picnic table at the front of the building from his location on the second floor of the building. Crooks then ran off carrying a backpack. At this point, that officer ran out of the building attempting to keep an eye on crooks until other law enforcement arrived. So they're fairly alarmed at this point. When you leave your post, run out, and you're trying to find somebody because he's set off your spidey senses. That's good law enforcement, by the way. This guy was he was tripping all kinds of people's spidey senses, obviously. So questions, all kinds of questions. Exactly what time did you run out after him? Where did you run towards? Who did you notify that you were leaving? Who did you notify that there was a guy suspicious enough that you feel like you had to go on a foot chase? Why aren't you radioing other law enforcement who we know are walking all around the building and say, why don't you go find this guy? Why did this guy feel like he had to leave to go find this guy? Why don't you say, hey, listen, I got a kind of an ugly kid with glasses and Demolition Ranch t-shirt. Yeah, gray. Yeah, shorts. That's him, right? That's how that should have gone. Okay. The other officer here remained in the building on the second floor, Goldinger said. So the DA of Butler County is clearly telling us that we have somebody in the second floor of that building. Carrying on, quote, from Goldinger, the officer who ran out of the building could not locate crooks and he returned to the building. Both officers then heard shots fired. Okay. So presumably they're on the second floor, but they're just out of station. They're a little, anyway, they goofed. They goofed up badly because one of them left. The other one isn't paying attention, isn't keeping an accurate lookout over that roof. But this is where it gets really interesting. Okay. Now we're down to it. Quote, at this point, that I carried that over just so you know we're in the same article. So that top paragraph I just read. Carrying on in yellow, Goldinger added that neither officer could see crooks on the other building due to the visual angle they had from their location to Crook's location. So now we got a question where exactly they are in the building that they couldn't see crooks, because I'll show you in a second that's a tall order. When asked about the DA's statement, a spokesperson for the Pennsylvania State Police said the agency stands by Paris's testimony. Ooh, the Butler County DA up against the state police. They are now giving different testimony. And this is when things begin to really fall apart. Somebody here knows that this is a big pile. There's a turd in the punch bowl right here, and they both know it, and they're both backing away. But the interesting thing is that they're not, that they're backing away from each other. So something is not right with this story. You can smell it with me, right? You can just smell something's off here. So that's how we know to begin looking. Quote, our agency stands by yesterday's testimony, said Lieutenant Adam Reed, the state police's director of communications. All right. So this is kind of weird because this is the view out of that second story building. You can see the whole roof, and getting my little drawing tool out, my laser pointer out so we can all see together, crooks would have been right here. Ding. Right. And obviously this is after the FBI hosed the roof down and washed everything away. Interestingly, I wonder if they didn't wash it enough, because maybe they left some right here coming off of, ew. Anyway, so that idea that they didn't have a view means they weren't at this window, because this window has a perfect view. I don't know where else you can be in that two-story building, but why wouldn't you be here where you can actually see the fairgrounds? You can see Trump on the stage if you just swiveled a little to your right and look down. There's the fairgrounds. Crooks is right on that roof, and we're being told that that it didn't matter because they couldn't see Crooks from their position inside this building. I'm really struggling where you have to be in this building, unless it's the bathroom, where you couldn't see Crooks's position. So that part of the story, we're going to need more explanation on because it does not smell right. And also now we hear, carrying on in that same CNN article, investigators believe that Crooks fired 8 rounds before he was killed by countersnipers. Not this investigator. I don't think he fired all 8. I believe the number is 8. Paris told the committee 8 casings have been recovered, using the correct term. They are casings, not cartridges. Officials had previously only confirmed that the shooter fired multiple times at the rally earlier this month. Paris also told members of Congress that several Secret Service agents told the state police area commander during a walkthrough of the area before the rally that the Butler County Emergency Services Unit, ESU, was responsible for securing the building where Crooks fired the shot. So they're like, it was those guys. They were responsible for that building. They should have secured that building. Well, somebody absolutely should have secured the building. So now we have questions. Everybody who was responsible, who should have been on that roof or protecting that roof, whoever made the decision not to actually be on the roof, crazy talk. But even though, and then the people who were in that room who said, oh, we didn't have a vantage point, that doesn't pass the sniff test either. So we got problems. And by the way, again, it was 2 minutes of people going, there's a guy on the roof with a gun, right? It doesn't take 2 minutes, even if you're all the way out in the parking lot, even if you're on the far side of the whole complex, you can run around, run in through building 6 and up this through the causeway and up the stairs and look out this window. And you can do that way less time than 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes, you can make it a pretty long way, right? There's probably a Kenyan who can make it a half a mile, in 3/4 of a mile. So at any rate, carrying on, it says here now, and this is from the CNN article, so this came out on the 24th of July, they're now claiming they're back to this idea that it was a municipal officer that came face-to-face with Crooks, so now we got the munis involved. During the several minutes, the would-be assassin was on the roof before Crooks fired on Trump. Paris testified. So again, the state police are like, oh, a muni officer. Like, they're just like, phew. It was a muni officer, face-to-face. Paris said that the brief confrontation came as a pair of local officers who had learned of Crooks' position on the roof, probably from all the people yelling, there's a guy on the roof with a gun. It's good police work right there. Attempted to confront the shooter, but while the officer was dangling from the roof, Crooks aimed his rifle at the officer and the officer fell. Paris told lawmakers that Crooks was on the roof roughly 3 minutes, but only a few seconds passed between when the officer confronted him and when he fired at Trump, correcting a time frame he gave earlier in the hearing. So it's just a few seconds. We don't know if it was 10 seconds or 9,000 seconds, but just a few. It was some number of seconds, right? Which isn't an actual definition of time. But even if it was, even if you came up and you saw him and you dropped down, why didn't you fire a warning shot to get everybody alerted, get the ball party rolling? Why didn't you? I mean, there's questions. Got questions, okay? Carrying on, quote, when one local officer hoisted the other up, so we're back to the hoisting thing, not a ladder, and subsequently falls, Paris said, Crooks was already, I believe, close to being in his final position there, and I'm told it's, again, sequence of events, not a timeline based on the prior criteria laid out, but seconds after that is when the first shot rang up, or rang out. Okay. Paris said that whether or when the confrontation was relayed to the Secret Service or other law enforcement agencies at the rally remains under investigation. Of course, that'll be important to know. We need to know exactly how many seconds passed between this and the person dropping down. Again, so now we got the state police saying, wasn't us. Must have been the ESU guys. I don't know about the Muni guy, right? So this tells me there's now cracks in the facade, and these are exploitable cracks, and it means that I suspect we're getting close to getting some really damaging information that's going to come out of this. For instance, was there any radio chatter coming over these guys' communications that was actually confusing to them? Was there some mysterious somebody out there explaining that there was a training mission going on, or that there was some sort of to stand down? Was there any stand down orders given? Why did the Secret Service snipers sit there and eyes on this guy for all that time and 42 seconds and take no shots? It's just nothing's adding up. All right. So this is really bizarre to me, this whole thing again, which I played, put this out in a video quickly yesterday, but I have to go over this again because I've been thinking on it. And the more I think on it, the more this bothers me. And it bothers me on multiple levels. First off, Shame on ABC generally. Shame on you two in particular, and shame on this guy most particularly because it's your name on the byline here. The most important thing you can do at a historic event, like the near assassination of a president, is get the history right. So you want to make sure that you're gathering the facts and you're telling the story as best you can without any undue coloring or anything like that. So again, let's just listen in on this and I'll tell you what my problems are.
What you're about to see may be disturbing.
This morning, new helmet camera video obtained by ABC News showing the moments law enforcement raced to that roof.
So, first off, we're supposed to believe that these guys had to break through a fence with security tape, right? That's just like, and they had to run from really far away. But you and I might be thinking, I thought this whole facility was crawling with cops, including a Muni cop who just had to drop, and two ESU guys who were scrambling around looking for this guy, and state police, and that there was Secret Service, what they call them, agent representatives. Like, this facility's crawling with cops, and we're supposed to believe, due to ABC News' amazing crack reporting, the way they're leading this up, that we're in the action, you're part of it. It's like a movie, it's amazing. These two guys, they have to bust through a fence held together with security tape, and they run, and they sprint. Well, cool, I'm glad they're sprinting, but this facility's already crawling with cops, and any of them could have just walked on up to that second story window and looked out and said, oh, yep, there he is. He's right there. He's dead. That would have been the starting point of this.
Sniper killed the gunman who opened fire at a Trump rally. Officers climbed.
Wait, what ladder is that? Laddergate. We're about to expose Laddergate here.
Up a ladder.
Hi, bro. Yep.
In chilling detail, the video shows an assault.
Hold it. Hold it. They run across the field. They climb up the ladder. They get on the roof. There's 8 people on the roof already, walking all over the crime scene. This is I don't know what's happening here.
Lying next to the dead body of shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks.
1, 2,
Trail of blood
3, 4,
seen
5. Somebody way
streaming
down
down
the
that
end.
slope.
See somebody
roof.
down the end there?
An
Yep,
officer kneels down by the gunman.
8 people, easy.
There appears to be a small device next to the shooter that was not seen earlier.
Yeah, let's just rifle through his pockets. Don't bother taking pictures, you know. Don't wait for a crime scene guy. It's urgent. Let's go through his pockets right now.
A rangefinder. I think it's in the cargo pocket.
Ooh, hear that helicopter? I want to see if that's a news helicopter. I want to see videos of this.
Police also seen counting the shell casings.
Looks like what, at least 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
See where that guy's helmet is pointing? He's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to need to see pictures of where those shell casings actually are, because I do have a picture that kind of looks like maybe it's the shell casings, and all 8 of them are on Thomas Crook's side of the building, but 3 of them are way down towards, not off the roof, but down towards the edge of the roof, behind him, down the slope, you know, the dangerous slope. How did this guy see them just looking down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did they get moved? What happened? We have questions, and don't forget, it was 8 minutes. Sorry, 12 minutes. 12 minutes that before these guys even got up here, and this is close to an hour later. So I just at
least 8.
At
least 8, so this is all bizarre, just bizarre. And by the way, see where that black uniformed police officer is standing there, the one with the, you know, the flexicuffs and all that. At any rate, in Senate testimony, Biggs asked Wray earlier today, or was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Biggs asked him, hey, does the forensics of where the blood and the brain matter sprayed out, does that match what eyewitness testimony said? And Wray was all like confused. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. It's like, I know you're just in the FBI, but try to follow along here. When somebody gets shot in the head, there's something called spatter analysis and evidence. Does the direction of the brain material that got blown out of Crook's head, does that match the shot that we think was taken? Is there anything else to this story? It's just basic crime scene stuff. What would be interesting is that that person in black would be standing where there would be considerable amount of blood and brain matter if they had been shot from the front by a 300 Win Mag or equivalent, but I think the snipers were using, the Secret Service snipers were using a 300 Win Mag, if my sources are accurate. That thing's just going to explode the head. That's just going to make an absolute hot mess. I mean, that is just where that officer's standing should be a fine mist of red and grayish chunks. Okay, so that's where we're at. So at any rate, this offends me. This offends me that we're supposed to believe that ABC did a credible job of showing us and including us in the action of bringing us to the crime scene with the first responders. The first people on the roof may have been those two guys, but that would be weird because why would you have guys run from all the way over there to come up? I don't know. Maybe they're your crime scene investigators, but they are. Boy, they did a crappy job securing that scene. There's people walking all over the place where there's going to be actual evidence. Somebody is just like randomly scanning down going, oh, I think I see 8 cases. Did they get bumped? Did they get moved? Right? Did you kick any of them? You know, casings get stuck in the waffle treads of those police boots all the time and carried off, right? Oh, I guess there were only 7. Maybe there's 4, right? It's just the most bizarre thing. So what I'm seeing from a crime scene standpoint, I don't even think a freshman class of 14-year-olds could even possibly do worse than that, right? I don't even know what I'm watching here. It's just bizarre. So it's really quite a mystery at this stage. But the whole story is beginning to unravel, and I think we know why. So this is it. This was from Senator Ron Johnson. He posted this out on July 21st. So ABC had 4 full days to know this detail before they put out that video, okay? Or maybe 3 days, depending on when they produced it. But 3 or 4 days. They had many days to come across this information, which is that at 6:23, 12 minutes after former President Trump was shot, there's the Beaver County. I knew I had it right. 2 Beaver County, Pennsylvania law enforcement agents accessed the roof of the American Glass Research Building and saw Crooks deceased. Okay, 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Is that enough time for somebody to go out and plant a little brass, mess around with a crime scene? You bet. Absolutely. I mean, that's an inexcusable amount of time. Why isn't that time 12 seconds after the shooting was done? That's what it should have been, not 12 minutes. So, and by the way, they're like, oh, yeah, we have this ladder over here, which we saw. And, here we've got somebody actually standing in this. And here's Crook's body. And I think this is his backpack. This is way after the fact. They must have left. But we know we have this open window right here, which we saw. Eli took a picture out of that. And we can see this had great oversight of this spot. But there's also this window. This window, also from the second floor of that building, also had great oversight. So the only place you could claim you were in this building and not be able to see Crooks is either you're in a room on this side, which would be bizarre, or you're in the bathroom. I don't understand it otherwise. This is bizarre. Now, ladder gate. Lots of questions about the ladder, so let's just clear it up. See that ladder that guy's on? That's what we call a tactical ladder. That's one of those collapsible things. Somebody had that in their trunk, and it's probably part of the kit gear of the emergency services unit. But it's not this ladder over here. Because this, sorry, get my, me and my laser pointer. This ladder has orange sides and it tapers, and this is a black ladder that goes straight up. So that's part 1. Part 2 is, these guys sort of ran through the secure tape, and then they're running towards the front here, and this is what they show us.
Fire at a Trump rally.
And I'm like, wait, where's that ladder? Where are they going up?
Thanks, brother. Yep.
Wait, where is that? I can't place that because I can place where they ran up here because I know I can see the front of that building. That's building 1 in the AGR complex. And I can see this light that's on the building 6, which is the roof that Crooks was on. And then they show me this ladder going up, but there's a little roof right here. So they're not going up here. They're not going up here. Plus there would be windows there. There's no window. The only thing that I can think is it has to be here because that's the only place on the whole facility. I went all the way around it where we can see something like this. There's a little gray, maybe this is this gray box. I don't know what's on top of it now. There could have been something stashed on top of there between the time when Google Street View took this photo and the rest of it. But that's the best guess. So they're going up here onto building 3, and then they're going to walk across all of this over towards Crooks. But that's where they decided to make their first entrance. And again, it wasn't that ladder. And nobody can tell me where that ladder came from, but maybe that came in after the fact. This is the one they used later to get all those 8, 10, 12, 50 people up and down as they carried off crime scene evidence and messed it all up. That's what I have to guess. So that's that part of the story. And, well, now we're going to shift gears really quickly in the time I have left because I do have to run here soon, unfortunately. So let's listen in on this.
Because I'm quite sure somebody saw under your organization, the Secret Service, I'm quite sure somebody saw the shooter on the roof. So what was the communication through the chain of command to deal with said person?
What I can tell you is that when the individual was identified by the counter sniper, they took one shot and neutralized that individual.
But that was after the shooter already took a shot. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So what you're saying now is that the Secret Service did not see the shooter on the roof until after the shooter took a shot?
I do not have all of those details at this time.
How do you not have all of those details at this time? It's the most mysterious thing ever. Obviously, you have to have those details before this time. I mean, that's like the most basic possible detail. By the way, and also her saying there was one shot taken by sniper, we've already dispensed with that because we know that there were two shots, because we know there's an ESU person from Pennsylvania who's on administrative leave for having taken a shot. And that shot, if I'm right, happened nearly 10 seconds before the Secret Service person took their shot. So there's a good chance the Secret Service person took their shot and Crooks was already dead. But of course, if they hadn't blurred out the body every single time when they were on that helmet cam, we might have been able to look at it and see if there were two head wounds or multiple body wounds at that point in time. But of course, they had to blur it out for your safety, citizen, after posting, of course, that picture of his head all destroyed, but from an angle where you couldn't tell anything, like as if there were two wounds on that head. So again, whole thing's just mysterious. It's just getting mysterious and it's worse. So we can all see that, they actually did have eyes on, because here you can see before the shots went off, these guys are on their glass, they are on their scopes, their hands are up in firing position, they are on their weapons before the first shots. Okay, so we know they had him in their sights. That much we can all see that part's easy. And here they are, and this is what it looks like when they are eyes on. And here we can see the second sniper set. This is the people who probably actually took the shot. They have floppy hats in the back. Different crew. They're on the second barn complex. And we can see when the shots ring out, they are also on point, and they are already up and on there and ready to go. So obviously they saw Crooks beforehand. So that part is clear. And by the way, I asked my son, who plays Call of Duty, I said, listen, Simon, if you were going to, if this was a new map in Call of Duty, and you brought a new, first off, you have to protect the red X. That's where the prize is in this particular game map. Where do you put your snipers? And he said water tower and that other tall building. He picked the AGR building, the tall one right there. No questions about it, right? Because snipers, I asked him, well, why wouldn't you put your snipers down on those other roofs right there? He said, because my snipers shoot long range. They don't do well at short range. I bring my short range part of the team in. And I said, well, what if you brought a new guy on your team? Because he's got a team he's been playing with for a while. I said, what if you brought a new guy on your team and you asked him to position the assets and you put both your snipers down here? He put your snipers right here. He said, newbie, we'd kick him off the team right away. I mean, listen, when your average young man Call of Duty player can nail this, it's not a good look. All right. And then in closing, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez said, why was the Secret Service's protective perimeter in Butler shorter than the range of an AR-15? It does not take 60 days to answer that question. The agency's failure to publicly account for these questions and others from Congress is unacceptable. Cheadle should resign. And yes, Cheadle should have resigned. No question. Full stop. But that's actually just the beginning, because she didn't actually make any of the decisions, like to put those two snipers where they had an occluded view and told the other people, the locals, that they were responsible for this very critical roof. And she didn't make those decisions. You know who did? That was the special agent in charge, which apparently makes sense. The Pittsburgh special agent in charge, that would have been Tim Burke. That guy right there on your far right with the light blue mask in the bald head. And I'm pretty sure he was actually on site that day. I'm not positive, but close enough for government work, I guess. Kind of looks like him, but maybe or maybe not. But how about we actually get this guy, who was actually the guy who was making decisions and in charge of the site that day? How about we get him on stand asking questions? I think that Ocasio-Cortez can be as mad as she wants at Director Cheadle and all that, but it's a smokescreen. It's designed to diffuse the situation, let a little steam out of the pot. Oh, look, we got her to resign. She wasn't the one making the decisions that day. This guy was. This is the guy that we need to ask questions of. So that's all. I got to run. Thank you so much for your time today. And that's it. I got a lot more to go. around Director Cheadle's thing. We've got beautiful things coming in from people all over the place helping us with the audio stuff. So please, if you have any more stuff, again, this is a citizen's investigation. So if you have evidence, that's audio files, that's pictures, that's something we can use, solid evidence, then please send it to info@peakprosperity.com with evidence in the subject line. Because we're having a lot of people sending us theories and videos of other people's theories, and that's all well and good, but that's part 2 of this investigation. First, we need solid evidence, okay? Second thing you could put in the subject line is expertise. If you're an expert at something, audio analysis, fast Fourier transforms, if you know, something about ballistics that we're missing, if you know anything about how you experts on law enforcement, crime scene investigation, how these sites are set up, anything like that, put expert in the subject line. We need your help. We've got a lot of stuff coming in, but we need more help. So thank you for listening. Thanks very much. Thanks for all your participation in this. I'm proud of us all. We're making a difference, and we're going to make this happen. We're going to get this job done this time.